Hi, and welcome to Level Up Podcast episode 6. Today with me is MADLADY. It's a brand new musical project here in Toronto. It's a fusion of alternative and pop music, and it's her first appearance here, so it's very special to have you here.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thank you.
When the idea started, I know you transitioned from one musical identity to another, and how did it happen, and why you had the desire to change it?
Yeah, of course. So I had kind of a difficult experience in my last iteration of being an artist. I mean, I'm still an artist, but my last project, I had a few just like relationships kind of turned sour and like business stuff. And I decided to kind of like take those as lessons. Like I learned a lot myself. Like I wouldn't put the blame on anyone. And I think for a while I wanted to have a persona, a more centered and focused kind of stage persona for myself that like separated for me like who I am in my daily life versus who I am when I'm performing. And it's weird because I almost feel like I can be more myself that way. I know like some people, they don't feel like that. They feel like, oh, I have to like slip into like being this character or this persona. But for me, I feel like the opposite. I feel like I can really like perform out. So yeah, I've had kind of, it's been like a bumpy road. There's been like some successes, some like ups and downs in my career in music thus far over the last 5 or 6 years. I've definitely learned a lot, but I've definitely had a lot of experiences in a very male dominated industry that have been very frustrating and have felt kind of limiting, or I've felt pigeonholed in some ways. I think like a lot of women can relate. A lot of young people can relate. It's also an industry like a lot of others where you have to prove yourself, and like as a young person, as a young creative, like you're not always taken seriously. So I decided to kind of like take all of what I had experienced and channel it into this new project. And in a way that also helps me like talk about that message. Like MADLADY makes it very clear kind of what I'm here to present and what I'm here to talk about, versus like my quote unquote government name didn't as much. So
you're initially you started doing music under your own government name, right? And how was that experience, and why did that experience, you said there was some issues, or like that separation between you as a performer, you as an artist, you as a personality, a public personality, and your personal life. Did you feel there needs to be a buffer between those things?
Yeah, a little bit. Like I feel like I would judge the successes or failures or frustrating experiences onto myself as a person, as opposed to on myself or on my artist project, if that makes sense. There wasn't really like a separation. And so I think doing like a new project allowed me to do that more so. I mean, I'm very new. Like It's a new experience, and it's a new kind of like rebrand. It's a new chapter. But already like I feel a lot better in like that regard. And yeah, I think a big part of it too was like online versus in-person kind of interactions. I felt that like my people perceiving me online like under my real name, which like was what I was performing and releasing music as, like that would get judged like one way, or like people would kind of feel like they knew me from what they saw online or like the music I was putting out. And for me, it's kind of fine if people judge just the music, but I'm sure, of course, like, like there's so much more attached to it when it's like an image and like what you're presenting online, and there's a whole visual realm of it. And
especially if you, as you mentioned, in the sort of female realm of that. music side, it's almost like pageantry. It's almost like it almost has a connotation of like almost like a negative connotations, and the audience can latch to some physicality of it or your appearance, and then, you know, create, you know, very unhealthy environment. That's what I feel like.
Totally. And like you would almost think, I mean, from doing the work of it all, you would almost think that people would respect you more because you're putting in like an extra 30, if not 50% with like how you present yourself, and even just what goes into, like, let's say a photo shoot, like you're prepping like your character. So that's the same as like a male artist. You're prepping like your director, the logistics, the creative elements. But then as a woman, it's like hair, nails, makeup, styling. Like obviously guys have that too. And I don't know. It's also though interesting, like we are seeing some leveling out of that. There is like more androgynous culture. There's more like queer culture. There's more sort of like boundaries with like, okay, like it's cool for guys to like rock a skirt or like a dress and like have like jewelry or have like makeup elements integrated into their artist image, which is probably like, you know, some of these creative teams are starting to see like, oh, we rep this like male artist, and like suddenly our budget just like got so much higher because they wanted to have like some like glam. So it is really interesting in that way, like because it's work, like doing your hair, doing your makeup. Like for me, it's also like a part of the work that I love. Like I love making nail sets. I love making wigs. I love making costumes. It's just like another like sandbox. It's like another like playroom, I guess. And
that's really interesting that you're mentioning that, because it's almost a dimension that not a lot of artists are exploring, because they like, oh, I have my voice, I have my songs, like what else do I need, right? But as you explore, you know, business side of it and potentiality of, you know, physical events, concerts, like it has to be special, and for people to come and experience it and see it, and it just has to be visually special, not just, you know, sound is amazing, you know, like, and a lot of people I feel like lacking sometimes in that department when they like, oh, they don't have, you know, dancers, or they don't have a band, or they don't have, and then they come on the stage and it's almost like you have nothing to fall back on in a way.
Yeah, it's a little flat. Yeah, I think there's a line there as well though, because sometimes it's like all show and no message. So there's I don't know, you kind of have to like go back to the drawing board of like, okay, what's my message, what's my music about, what are the kind of themes I'm trying to convey, and then from the music, the visual world, the live show can kind of grow, and it can kind of get there. Because, you know, I've been to some great shows too where it's like just, you know, the DJ playing like really cool music, cool sounds, and then like someone comes in and they're singing, and then someone's doing like a weird like improv dance routine, but somehow it works, you know, like it doesn't always have to be so super produced.
No, it doesn't, but I always say that you can be super talented, that's one thing, but if you don't have a taste, it doesn't really matter how talented you are. I know people who very hard workers, and they learn, for example, a software or whatever, they learn the skill and they know everything about it, but they don't have a taste. They don't know when to stop. They don't know what is. So what are you saying when sometimes people come on a stage and they just stand there with a mic and perform, and it's made tasteful, and that's a style? Yeah. Like I think I saw there was like Florence and Machine, like old in Royal Albert Hall, something like a recording, and she just stands there in a beautiful dress with a mic, and there's a whole orchestra behind her, and it's stylish, it's simple, there's no like dancer, it's not Pink show and she's like spinning, but that's a completely different shows, you know, completely different shows, or like, you know, Rihanna. It's just the style. You have to commit to the specific style that you're doing and make it tasteful. Some people have incredible light show, and it's like the light show is the appeal, right? It can be overwhelming if you have a light show and the costumes, and then the people on, you know, on strings, and then the fires and everything all together. It can be a mess. So it's like having I almost feel like there should be one special thing about the concert, about the performance, like a one thing that stands out. If it's a big crown on your head and it has jewels, and like that should be focus element, not, because then you kind of like disperse the attention of people and they start like wandering around which point they should follow. So I think what you're doing, what you're saying with like building your identity, building your like visual brand, like it's very important, and not a lot of artists actually go that extra mile to build their unique visual identity.
Yeah, I am very like hyper organized too. Like I'm always thinking kind of like 12 steps ahead, and right now, like I think I've tried to exercise my chillness, I guess, and trying to like bring the focus back to the music first and then build the world around it. But I'm like, I don't know, I can't shut it off at the same time, like, because they're dreams, like they come to me like visions. Like I'm a very, I don't know what the word is, like I'm in touch with whatever dream world or like sense state that is. Like,
do you get like looks from there, and you wake up and you see the look of
like, so the last couple of days I've been going to sleep in an egg. I don't know how to describe this. Like I enter my sleep state and I'm like going into like a literal egg. Oh, wow. And then when I wake up, I'm like breaking out of an egg.
Oh wow.
And then like I'm like telling my partner like I'm coming out of the egg now. It's so weird, but it's like real to me somehow, like because I'm in this dream world. Like, you know how
that's
things
amazing.
feel.
You should record everything, because that's the concept for a show.
It is, right? Like I try to write these down, as weird as they are, because like
no, that's the best, because then on the spot you cannot come up. If you need to do something and it's like, oh, I need ideas for a music video, for a show, and then when you have your little diary of those dreams and stuff, wow, you can pull that stuff from there. But if you have to come up on the spot, good luck. It's very hard.
Writing under pressure, like writing without. I always have like, I have in multiple formats as well. This goes with like, it's either hyper organized or it's like my ADHD. I don't know which one it is, but it's like I have my notes app like on my iPhone. Then I have like a physical journal. Then I have like another journal for like other thoughts. Then I have like my day planner, which also some ideas make their way into there as well. And then I have like my Google Drive of like different docs for like songwriting ideas, like literally everything. I'm like, oh, maybe this is like a TV show I want to make, like who knows, 5 years, 10 years from now. But I'm always like writing those as they come. And then there's like the dream journal as well. But it's I can't turn that off. So even though I'm like actively exercising, trying to focus just on the music, and I've also been like focusing really on like just upping my technical skills, upping my skills in mixing and in sound and engineering and arrangement.
That's one sort of silver lining that whenever I'm talking with artists, it always comes up. Musicians these days have to wear so many hats. Like you mentioned already, you mentioned that you're building your own brand, your visual aesthetic. Then it's like, oh, I'm working on sound and I'm learning this new, technical elements to it. And it's like, do you feel comfortable in it? Is it challenging? Like, how do you feel with this overwhelming, pressure of different things that you have to know?
I feel exactly like what you just said. I feel like there has been points where I have let it overwhelm me to the point where I find an easy way out. And the easy way out is hiring someone else to do it better. But what I have learned over time, especially in like my FKA era, like formerly known as era, like I've learned that you can hire someone else, and it's usually a guy, and they're usually going to give it back to you, and you could have done that work just as well. And maybe there was one or two things that you had to kind of like Google or watch like a YouTube tutorial, and it's really just like sitting down, giving yourself that patience and allowing yourself to make mistakes and allowing yourself to learn, and knowing that there's going to be like those moments where like you do feel that pressure, like you feel like you're in like I thought of this morning, like you're in the laundry hamper and there's all these layers of clothes and you have to kind of like get out of the laundry hamper. I don't know if that analogy makes any sense, but yeah, it's like it's a slow process, and I think you just have to like accept it for what it is and enjoy it.
Right.
Yeah.
But I almost feel you're right about that analogy with the,
the laundry hamper.
But also I almost feel it's almost like an onion, right? And there's also those layers that you have to peel before you get to actually, because the thing is, they always say that you need whatever, like 5,000 hours before you master something.
Oh, I thought it was 10,000.
I don't know how many actually, because everyone is like, I thought it was 5,000, maybe 10,000. But it's a certain amount of time, serious amount of time, not the small amount of time before you master something.
Yeah.
And you have to realize that your first products will always be kind of shit. And that's the truth. And sometimes people don't get over it because maybe with the media and how fast-paced everything right now is, like people want like immediate results. People right away want to know the software. People right away want to record amazing sound. People don't want to work on their voice, and like if they're musician and performers. If you want to grow as a professional artist, you have to peel all those layers before you get to the core. I know that I'm a specialist at something when I'm thinking what I want to do instead of how I'm going to do it. It's like riding a bicycle, right? You cannot say that you can ride a bicycle if you're thinking about how you're going to ride a bicycle. You won't be able to do it, right? Because you will constantly think about how to ride it. Like, oh, I put this, I start spinning, now I start turning. Like, no, you get to the point where you can do it automatically, and then you're thinking, where I want to go on a bicycle. Yeah. So almost I feel with the skills and technology that you're learning, you want to get to the point when it's like, what I want to do with it, instead of thinking how I'm going to do it. If you're thinking how you're going to do it, you're not there yet I feel like as a professional. Yeah.
And that's where it feels like really overwhelming and you feel kind of lost. And then, you start to think like, okay, what's the easy way around this? Or like, who can I get that will just do it for me? And that's kind of like, it's like this like impulse or this reaction that I've had to kind of train myself to be like, no, do it yourself, learn it. And you're going to be so much better off because you're going to be like more equipped. And then, you're going to be like on the bike riding it and then able to go to these different destinations and do these things that like you never thought you could never imagine, right? Like, it's like cliche, but it's very true. And I think like, I think a lot of people, like we want results right away and like we don't want to put in the time, or we get attached to like the vanity metrics of it all. Like we think like just because something doesn't like go viral immediately that's any way to judge success or failure of art. And I think in art there are no successes and failures. Even in like the business side of it, I think there's only here's and there's, which I heard from someone said that, I don't know who, but there's no like making it. There's just like here's and there's. It's
all subjective. Your success is also it's measured by you. I know people who will happily live, in the Alps. They will know like 3 people total. They have no social media and they like, living their life, like the best life ever. Like they have a little cottage, they have their own, kettle or something. Like that's what they want. They want that. So it depends what's the measure of success for you, because it's super subjective. And you shouldn't put, I think, unrealistic goals on yourself and that extra pressure. And you should have your little, victories, and you should achieve your goals and what you think is important. It's just when you put as a paramount like public opinion and you like trying to follow, you chase that wave of like public approval and stuff and like mass following or something, you will have a hard time. I think in life
you have to kind of let go sometimes and just create and just like be free of those external pressures. And I think I almost liken it to a sickness, and I think I had that sickness like for a while. Like I think I put so much
we all have it,
pressure.
I feel like it. We all have it. We start,
Yeah.
comparing people on social media, and we all guilty of it. We will look at, oh, look what they are at my age. Oh, look what they did already. And it's unrealistic, because you're looking at the, fraction of percentage of people, fraction of a fraction of percent, of people who maybe were in right time and right place, maybe who lucked out, maybe who came from, better upbringing, maybe someone who worked like 20 times harder than you, to achieve it. So it's like you looking at the fringe. Most of the time you're looking at the fringe cases, or maybe someone's just faking it, and then you like pulling your hair out and you're thinking they so well put together, and you just the mess here. But then it's just a facade. It's just you following the socials,
and we forget too that like people are looking at us now the same way we're looking at those other people that we envy. Like people are looking at us like we've accomplished a lot, or we've like done this and that, or they just admire us as artists, admire like our ability to tell the truth, which I think is, the job of an artist. But yeah, like
that's true, because I even a lot of people started recently like telling me, oh, you're doing so good, and it's like you started a studio and you started your production company doing so, and I'm like, you people don't realize what's like behind the stage, what it takes. Like, it feels like riding a bicycle on fire in a dumpster or something like that. Like it feels like in the dumpster on fire, and you are on fire, and there's challenges, and then people don't realize, because people only, if they see success, they only see success. They don't see the failures and all the times that you were like sitting there and pulling your hair out, and you're like, I don't know what to put on paper. Like you need something there and nothing comes out, or something, or you need an idea, or you need to figure out how you get money to fund it or something. They don't see all of that. They just see result. It's either the result is there or result is not there. They wouldn't see the failure. That's another one that in a way for me is like liberating. Like people don't concentrate on failures. Like if you like fail miserably, spectacularly, you will have your first event or something, and everyone comes and everyone hates it, or it's boring. Like they will forget immediately about it. Like people remember successes, I feel like, more than failures. Unless your failure is that spectacular, like some people build the whole careers of like failing up, I guess,
Yeah, no, that's true. And those are very like, those are sort of anomalies. But yeah, I think like we can't focus on them. No one else is focusing on them. And you just have to like, I don't know. I also, like a thing that when I was kind of going through my rebrand, or like my re-envisioning of who I am as an artist, was looking at a lot of those stories of like the most successful people have failed the most. And
that's what I always say. It's like, why would you listen to a couple who lived, 60 years together, how to find, perfect relationship? What do they know? Like they lived 60 years together. They find themselves when they were kids and they fell in love. They have no experience with like, dating market, dating apps, and figuring it out and finding. It's actually, more interesting to look at the couples who were like, oh my God, he has like 6 wives, and then she had like she had like 5 husbands or something, and they make it work, and they know they actually have tons of experience. But same goes to business. Why would you listen to a guy who inherited the business, who's super successful, he has money, right? His father gave him a small loan of $1 million or whatever, and now he just riding away all his life, right? And everything he does is like interesting. Like there's no career. He doesn't know how to make it, right? Or someone who maybe was in the right time, in right place, for example, in the YouTube in the beginning or whatever, and was doing something, and then it just grew. Like he doesn't know how to, like he'd only know how to do what he was doing. But it's interesting to listen to opinion to the guys who had like 16 businesses. One of them was bakery, the other one was production studio, the third one was a car manufacturing company, and everything failed, right? And now he has the business that is successful. Oh, listen, that guy probably knows how to a lot of things about how to make business successful. And what failed, something that I can relate to, because a lot of people told me when you start a business there will be those hard things, the moments, what to look out, but you don't take it seriously unless you're experiencing it.
Yeah.
unless you're putting your own money into it and you losing your own money,
Yeah.
it's that lesson will never be learned. Like that some other people
Yeah.
have, telling you.
And there's so many expensive lessons in life.
But those are the best lessons. I feel like the ones that you lose the most and the ones that hurt the most in retrospective when you look at it is like those were the best lessons I had.
Yeah.
Like,
and I feel like I don't hear, I'm glad we're talking about this because I don't feel like people talk about that enough, is expensive lessons. Because like, and there are so many of that as an artist. Like I think back to like one of the very first music videos I ever produced. I think this was like 2018. I spent so many doll hairs on that. Like so much money that like, was just like very stupid because I thought I had to have like, like an RE camera and like the best lights and like a certain number of crew members, and it ended up being a very beautiful video, and like I don't regret it. Actually that one was more like a lesson in like, okay, how can we trim the fat on this production to fit my budget as an artist at this where I am as an artist, I guess, in this time of my life, I guess. And what do I absolutely need and what do I not need? But there's been other ones like where I've like paid someone to do my website for me, and like they ended up texting me while I was in another city asking me to transfer them like $100 or $1,000. I can't even remember now. I'm pretty sure because they wanted to buy drugs. Like, wow. And the website was so shit. Like I would send revisions and like not get what I wanted. Or other times too, like I've paid for an edit, and like I also learned lessons. Like I paid a lot of money for it, and I ended up editing it myself, and it took a lot longer. Like it took probably 6 months longer, because those 6 months I was learning how to use Final Cut Pro or Premiere Pro, and I did it all myself. But I also then thought back, like later I learned like, okay, like if I was the editor, I wouldn't have wanted to get 3 pages of revisions, even if they are time stamped, and even if they are like, 1 sentence each. Like that's too much. And you learn that from being like a client and a creator. Like I've had people send me edits for songs, for videos. I work on a number of projects, but yeah, I'm like, can you condense this? Like, I'm only one person, or you limit, the revisions, and you kind of, you set
I will
those
tell
boundaries.
you, I will give you a hack. That's what I do, because I've been working, for 17, 18 years now in TV production. And so what we do is
that's a long time.
Yeah. I'm surprised. I'm like actually really old, I feel like. It's been 18 years. This is my like 18 years in the industry, like working in the industry, because I started in television. And and I made mistakes because I started as an editor. So I was video editor initially, well, my first job. Although I had a degree in like film directing, I still was an editor first. So the hack is that you charge them for every edit. So you have, so usually you mentioned that in a contract or verbally that there are 2 edits included, 2 rounds of edit, 2 rounds of edit, which is like you give me a bunch of edits, I apply them all, I return it to you, you look at it, and you have final edit round. So you can give me, 5, 10 edits.
And that's it.
And it is done. And then every edit, at first it was like $100. And it's like, even if you put $100 for every edit. So I had one guy who was specifically a brand company, and one guy in marketing who was so indecisive that I made way more. Like I think I made like $3,000 on the shoot. And then I think I made more than 10 grand on edits.
Oh my God.
Because they were so indecisive. They would move things. They would be like, oh, make it faster. And there's always that insidious or sort of, I would say amateurish edit when people say, oh, I don't like the music, change the music. And you're like, this means everything has to be re-edited.
Yeah.
I can, you know, like I cannot
Music
just like people
lasts.
don't understand that you cannot,
The
if you edited
timing.
something, it's a timing, it's a pacing,
Feeling,
also
though.
feeling in the
Yeah,
mood. Because people don't understand it. Something is lyrical, something is positive, something is negative, something moves forward, something stays in a place, something stagnates. You know, something is upbeat, something has a development, something is more like elevator music, static. So it's all will impact how your edit is, and then people will throw it as like, oh, I don't like music, can you change it? And you're like, oh my god, this is gonna be a massive edit. I have to re-edit everything. Or in a lot of cases, you just like you change the music, and they like, oh, I like this, and you're like, okay, just have it, it's yours. Also, another thing that I learned by doing it for other people, I'm not doing it for myself. There's no my ego in it.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be there. It's like they hired me, I'm a hired person, hired professional to create whatever they want, not whatever I want. That's not my project.
Totally.
So whenever I'm working on someone else's project and they like, and I was doing it for, I had cases, I was editing Bachelor, and producer comes and I was editing my episode for,
oh my god, that's
like
actually so sick.
long time.
I love, side note, I love the editors on like reality shows
TV,
because they're the best. They make it, they give it like,
it's that industry, that's what taught me, like the reality TV editing taught me to remove my ego fully, because of the cases like I'm telling you, when the producer comes and I was working on my episode for 3 months, and he comes and he like, let's delete it, like we need to shorten the whole thing.
Oh my god.
And I was like, I started fighting him on it.
No.
And I was like, it's like, this is 3 months of my work and stuff. But what that taught me, that experience taught me, and later I was working with a lot of other projects. I was doing X Factor, Hell's Kitchen, a lot of other reality shows, that it doesn't matter. There's a global pacing of the show. If your blog doesn't work, it goes away. Like, you need to be tight. You need to tell the specific story, right? And the thing is, they are clients. You still are paid for your time. So it's not that they're not throwing away your work. It's like, and also, so now when someone coming to me and is like, let's change all of it, or like, let's delete it, I'm like, sure. Like, you paid for it. Like, you don't like it, you want a different version of it, it's fine. But there's also, you have to you need to have expectations, because a lot of things of your client you need to know them, because in a lot of cases you cannot get into other people's head. And what is, what you like, I will never match what you like, basically, in your head. And if those are the expectations, that's like seeing the recreation of a book or in a film, and then you don't like it because in your head the main character had the purple hair or whatever. And they didn't catch that right, like, you never. So for example, I also work as a colorist, as a senior colorist for a long time now, and that was one of the problems. Like, how do I get into people's head? And because the color is like super subjective, so what you do is actually what we do professionally.
Colorblind or some shit.
No, well, what you do professionally is you invite clients for color set. And they come and they sit there and they look at it, and you just do 3 shots maybe from the whole show, and an episode maybe 10, and they set the look and they say, oh, I like it a little purple, I like a little green, I like everything stylized, I like, and then you make everything. So when they return and they don't like it, you go back to it and remember the color set. We did exactly what you asked. So now we go into a realm of additional payments and edits. Like, we can redo it, definitely. You have to confirm that you change your mind.
And with color, it's like so many layers of work to peel back, to go, like, to redo it. Exactly. When you become a professional in it, it's like doing edits is not a problem for you, because it's not personal. Like, that's what people don't understand with edits. Edits are not personal. They're not attacking you or your sense of taste or your style. It's like you delivering to the client, and client had their own expectation, and you have to match those not your expectation. Because a lot of people, I work with some people, and which was very hard for me to work with, when people are like defensive, and I'm like, remove it. That's what I had to learn, like, because it wasn't just that I had to learn certain lessons, but I had to understand that those people are being defensive in this moment, and they're being unprofessional, or like they haven't got to that point yet in their career where they've learned that, okay, right now I'm working in service of this artist's vision. I'm playing a role on this set. I'm like, this is what my job is in these confines. Like, again, like I think when people are like younger and they're just getting into the industry, or they're like fresh out of film school, exactly. And like everyone wants to be the director without like directing, or everyone wants like final say or their creative input. And I think obviously, like, I value like everyone's input on a project, but I will expressly kind of say like, this is when I want people's input, and this is when you don't want input.
People want input, but they don't want to take responsibility. That's the problem.
Yes,
because it's like, if
if it fails, that was his idea.
Right. If it's because the rule is the person who touches the product last usually makes the most money. And because it's the one who has the final say how the product gonna look.
Yeah.
Right? And that's the one who has all the responsibility of failing, monetary responsibility. If the project gonna fail, he gonna lose money and stuff like that. So in a lot of people want to go ahead of the train or whatever in a way that they have no monetary responsibility for this project. They just have their creative ego and they want to put it paramount of everything, but they don't want the responsibility. If you're doing a portion of work and you start impacting, influencing their marketing or something, you don't even know. You're in a stage. You're only one stage of a cycle, and then you don't know like, for example, for an artist, you're requesting your video to be edited or shot and something, and you find a filmmaker who's very defensive, and he's like, oh, this is very specific how it's supposed to look, but it doesn't look cohesive in the grand scheme of things that you are doing.
Yes.
So now it stands out as a sore thumb because this person doesn't know your style.
They're not in your world enough. And I would bring it back to like that, telling truth as an artist, because sometimes, like, if you're not like firm with your focus as an artist as well, and with what you're trying to say, and with the meaning and the message, like beyond the budget and beyond like, okay, like, the financial responsibility and how whether this becomes successful in a commercial sense, it's like, is this successful in the sense of it's speaking truth to who you are as an artist and the truth that you're trying to convey to your audience. I think that is like, almost like a deeper responsibility, right? In some ways. And it's like, you don't want to be a sellout, and you also don't want your project to like veer off in this like totally different direction. I think it's really interesting too, like not just taking revisions in the visual realm, but in the music realm, in the sound realm. It's so weird,
right?
Because like it's almost, I think, easier to describe things visually. Like you can say, oh, the cat shouldn't come in here, that's too early, that ruins the joke, or whatever, the timing, the pacing. It's easier to describe things visually, but working on sound, it's so hard to describe certain sounds, especially when you're working with a team who maybe like they aren't used to that set of language as well. And like it's so weird also, like learning plugins and learning like vocal compressors and EQ and like all of that world. It's very like it's very hard to put into words and to describe, and it's like you just have to listen really hard and really train your ears on the technical side of things. And then on the artist side of things, you have to train whatever that thing is that you connect with, that divine inspiration or that seed of truth or your inner child or the words of your ancestors, like whatever that truth is, you have to, find ways of connecting with that and tuning out everything else and reminding yourself of that with every project that you're doing. And even if it's like a fun pop song or it seems kind of superficial, it's like, okay, well, maybe this is like an aesthetic exploration, but there's still like some, you know, message or value there that you're providing, and kind of like honing in on what that is and staying true to it and not letting it veer too far away from that kind of like measure, I guess, or like what's that machine that like
metronome?
Yeah, like something like that, where like you want to find that thing in the middle, like a meter,
precise, right?
Yeah,
you need to find your own sort of voice, and that's what you base it on. Like you have your own voice, you have your own style, and even if you're saying it's just a poppy light sort of song, it based on the skill set and the knowledge that you have. And great example would be like Pharrell, for example. Like some of his songs are very, you know, poppy, but behind that is the experience of him as a producer and working with those sound, and to achieve like that sort of earworm status of sound is very hard. Like it requires the knowledge.
So hard, yeah, like of songwriting, of production. And I also think like it's funny that you bring that up, because I'm thinking of like his song Happy, obviously, which kind of like, you know, at first, if you're kind of like in your cynical mode, you're like, oh, whatever, like happy, whatever. But there's another song that came out recently by an artist, Asake, and it's called Happiness. And I love this song. And it's like, you know, when you look at that in relation to like his other catalog, it's still like cohesive, but his other catalog is like more, I guess, kind of like personal experiences, and it's a bit more like artsy. It's very artsy. But then when you do a song like that, you're thinking, okay, like this is just like a cash grab, or they're just trying to do this because they want to have like this song about that's like light and that can like, I guess, fit in a lot of areas commercially.
Right.
But I also think it's like, it's so beautiful. And I think sometimes we arrive at that point as artists where we're like, I don't just want to make like angry songs or sad songs or breakup songs or songs about how rough my life was or about, you know, all of my trauma.
Right.
You know, sometimes you just want to make a lighthearted song that like kids can sing along to. And that's the message and that's the meaning. And like even MADLADY has songs like that, like they're, you know, where they're like light and they're about different feelings and a complexity of, you know, human emotion and human experiences. And yeah, like sometimes
I feel like you have to think about it as a product almost. So not everything has to be a masterpiece in terms of like storytelling. Like some things just have a place. Like you mentioned the children's song, like something lighthearted, something that people can, you know, maybe cry over. Like those are all different needs.
Yeah, totally. Like I think you also have to like allow yourself as an artist to like rid yourself of perfectionism, and also of that idea that one work has to showcase your entire skill set, your entire spectrum of emotion and experience and artistry. Like I think that that's why artists have catalogs and hopefully like careers with longevity. It's difficult, especially like I'm going through it right now because I'm kind of like trying to decide the order that I release things in. And I'm also kind of embracing this idea that it might just be like a little bit chaotic in a good way. Like there's going to be kind of an explosion of a lot of different sounds and a lot of different areas, but it makes me happy in a way. Like I'm like, okay, this set of songs kind of fits under like this realm, and then like this one's like a little bit over here, so let's group them together this way. But it changes daily a bit.
Albums?
Yes, different albums, and I think that they're gonna come out though all at the same time in a weird way. Like they're gonna do what you call like waterfall. So like one song from one album will come out, and then another song from another album will come out, and then another one. And I'm giving away like my strategy, but don't take this strategy, whoever's watching this, because I don't know if it works. Yeah, like I've seen other artists do like a traditional waterfall strategy, which is like with one album and you just do it like one song at a time, and then eventually you'll have like the full project. But I think I'm gonna go like between waterfalls and like do multiple different projects.
2 waterfalls. So would you do like 2 albums with a different sound?
Yeah.
But they kind of stay cohesive within the albums?
Yeah, they'll be cohesive within the albums and like within my world. I think my voice really ties everything together. I think my voice is like my superpower. It's like the one unique thing. But I think that there's complexity to, like, back to when I was talking about my inspiration, like exploring female rage, exploring passionate emotions, which aren't just rage, like which can also be like hurt.
Right.
I think that, you know,
so like extremities.
Yeah, and I think so much of my songwriting is like, it's very therapeutic. I don't treat it like therapy, like I have a therapist for that, but like it is therapeutic. Like it's exploring emotions, and sometimes you don't always get to a solution, and that's fine. Just the act of processing and kind of trying to like unpack things, I think, is what's important. But yeah, like there's a softness to that, and I think, like, I don't know, when I'm angry and when I'm upset, like by a lot of the things that I've gone through in the music industry and as an artist, I think it's really like ultimately you're hurt. So these emotions are tied to one another, and also they're tied to like grief, and even like grief, like there's like the 8 stages or whatever, you know, like like rage, denial, and then eventually like acceptance and like moving on. And so I think there's just, I don't know, there's a lifetime of stuff to unpack, and I'm sure like I'm gonna experience more, you know, maybe on the drive home today. Someone like cuts me off, and then I'm like, I'm gonna write a song about that. But yeah, like there's a lot of different emotions, and then within projects there's different sounds that I want to explore. So there's different sonic elements, and the way I do that as a creative, like I play live instruments, piano, flute, guitar, and I sing, but I also play with like digital instruments. I love exploring like sound effects and like sound effect libraries, which are like used more in film. I like to almost have like a cinematic approach to composing and arranging. And then there's a lot of ways where you play something live and then you manipulate it digitally, so that it doesn't sound at all like the thing that you first captured, but it's a way of organically making your own samples, I guess. So there's just such a palette sonically that I'm exploring, but I am trying to kind of group things under different thematic arcs, and different kind of stories, different layers of the onion.
Is there like overarching story arc that you're building?
Yeah. There's different ones. It's going to be kind of episodic, I think, because again, I view things in dreams, and I view things like visually and as stories in and of themselves, even if they're, you know, packaged as songs or packaged as albums.
That's interesting, because not a lot of artists are approaching it as storytelling, and like you mentioned, the sounds are almost like a Foley, like elements of the sound from a film. Like that's actually kind of intrigues me, because I never heard anyone from musicians like having that approach, like picking that approach from film production and being like, oh, I'm gonna use sounds as you know, as if it's a sound design in a film.
Yes, exactly. Or like a percussive element, or like it's a door creak, it's footsteps, it's pigeons, like all of that I think is like really cool, and I'm inspired and I'm motivated by like other artists who have who have not set those limitations on themselves. Also, like they've allowed their experiences in like film and television or comedy to like influence their art and their music. Like Donald Glover is one, like with like Childish Gambino, like with, I think it was his second project, where like he had a whole script written to accompany the music, and it was like he literally released like the script. And it's interesting to see, it's like a version of like liner notes, you know, or like album notes that used to exist, and it complements the work the same way that like the album artwork would complement it, or the visuals if you end up doing a video. So there's, but
he comes also from the, you know, the film world, and like have experience as an actor
and comedy
and comedy as well, and what I feel like there's also some parallels between what you're saying and Childish Gambino. Like he's eclectic, right? And like his albums are usually very eclectic, and he will have songs and which what sometimes almost feel like those are different people, like those are different people performing.
I feel like
he would have one song that is like so high falsetto, like doesn't, like Redbone, right? Like doesn't make sense within his other work. Sometimes almost feels like it, right? But there's definitely like a
and not that I have like multiple personalities or anything, but like I definitely don't wake up each morning feeling like the same person. Like I feel like not a different person every day, but like I don't know. And it's also kind of fun to like wear a costume of a different person, or really like immerse yourself in one world. Like maybe on this project I want to feel more like if there was like an angry fairy that lived in the forest and like played tricks on people, like maybe that's where I want to be in this one. But in this other one I want to be like Bonnie and Clyde, or Thelma and Louise. Like there's different kind of character tropes or like archetypes that I think you can like step into at various points when it makes sense, and it's fun. And again, it's like it's playing, you know. That's
exactly, and I almost feel there's a benefit of the sort of gamification of what you said, of it like playing and creating new characters and something and rediscovering, because as we learn from, you know, top musicians and musicians who really make it, they continuously rediscover themselves, and it's almost sort of expected on that level to continuously change something instead of bringing the same product, because then we fall into the category of, you know, one song wonders.
That's why, I mean, like, I know you have to kind of package it. Like, I understand why people need genre labels for music, mostly from like a journalistic approach. If you're writing an article about an artist, like you want to be able to describe them in as few words as possible, if not lengthy descriptions. Like you can get really like flowery with the language and like, you know, colorful and, you know, in how you're describing music. But like for journalism, but also I think for like streaming platforms, we have to kind of say like, this is alternative, this is pop, this is electropop, this is shoegaze, this is bedroom pop, like, you know. And it can get very granular. It can also just be like very general, but it is tricky. Like it can feel limiting in some ways, or just like, I don't know. I try to just like grin and bear it for that step of like the release. Like it's like, okay, you got to just kind of find your descriptive words and, you know.
Your niche, your category. I know that it's can feel limiting in a way, and I'm kind of finding it as well, because I cannot just commit to category and be like, oh, it's just we're doing only production for like medical sector. But that's how industry works in a way, and that's how you get successful. That's how it's organized, because it's like, oh, I like to do, you know, music videos and the commercials and films and this and that, but then it's like it's so hard to maintain a portfolio of work across all those platforms and keep it, you know, consistent. So I feel it's a hard lesson, and you know, it's a tough pill to swallow, but you have to specialize in category, pick a genre, pick a style, pick, you know,
or like hone your instrument. Like for me, I feel like that's why I said before, I feel like my voice is the one thing that unifies across like my songs and across, you know, my work, in a way that like does make it cohesive, and like it's a style that's like unique and different and like truthful. And so then like people know like that almost is the niche. Like the niche is you, right? Like no one can do what you do.
You can be completely unique in it. You can create your own niche. You can say this is the music now, you know. And a lot of artists who were emergent artists in the categories were creators of that category in a way. You know, you can definitely do that. There's a beat up path, and you can follow that, or you can, you know, have your own path. But you have to commit to it, because then you have to consistently produce the certain product that in this niche people expect, right?
Yeah.
Which is kind of, that's more of a business side of it. That's why in social media, you know, the channels or the pages that are doing really well is just basically doing the same thing. Right.
Yeah.
Which is kind of, can be artistically very sad in a way, but that's how people consume the product. Like if they want someone whose trick is like, I don't know, doing covers of the song, they will go for covers of the song. Suddenly you will start putting out the, you know, your unique creations, and people wouldn't be as responsive to it.
Yeah.
So
it's
like,
such a fine line.
It's very fine line. You know, like and a good example would be a TikTok, when people will do exactly one thing. Like for example, the joke that is, he's like mimicking the parodying voices or something, and then that's it. You do that one joke, like one same thing. It's exactly copy of the other one. You go to the channels that are like millions, right, followers on TikTok, it will be exactly same, like one trick sort of thing.
Or like they found what works and then they just kept doing that.
So yeah, you can avoid that and, you know, lose the views and the revenue associated with it. You can go against the grain. It's getting back to that idea that we were talking about, that you set your own goals and and set your own measure of success. But there's facts of industry. That's how industry works. If you want to be successful, you kind of have to create something unique and then indefinitely repeat it, because that's your thing, which is kind of sad for some people
like
who are really creative.
Like that, yeah, it's like it seems so daunting.
Dark, right? Yeah, it's kind of dark, and I'm looking at it as well, because we all face it in our respective industries, right? Like my industry and like production industry, video production industry, forces me to do that as well. It's like pick a niche, and I'm like, I don't want to pick a niche. I like everything. Yeah, and it's like, well, you're not going to be as successful as you would pick a niche. Are you agreeing with it? And I'm like, well, I guess I would rather be less successful but do what I like. And you know, so you pick your battles, right? And I feel as an artist, as a musician, you almost have to pick your battles as well. Do you want to be, because I almost feel like the luxury of being fully eclectic is the luxury of people who made it. When you're just starting and you like in rediscovering yourself on the fast pace, and people cannot keep up with it, and people don't care enough for you to even keep up.
Yeah, they want to you want to be memorable for a certain thing for a while. But yeah, I don't know. I just like don't even think about that anymore. It's like, it does cross my mind. But I want to focus more on, okay, what's really important to me in the scheme of like, you have one life kind of thing. Like, I don't want to, you know, make 3 albums that are all the same just so people remember me, and like dye my hair like a crazy color that I hate just so like people remember me for like, you know, or like give myself like a mullet, or I don't, you know, like just, or wear some weird getup. Like what's more important to me is just like expressing myself as an artist and like following that way, and trying to keep it cohesive, of course. I think my voice keeps it cohesive. There's like another artist, Tizo Touchdown, who like, I mean, he does have like a very extreme look. He was like the guy putting like the nails in his hair. I don't know if you saw him, which is great. And like that makes you memorable. But his music, like all of the songs are very different stylistically, but his voice does kind of tie them together.
Right.
And so I don't know. I think it's like great that we are seeing more examples of that, and artists who are like signed and like still emerging, but they are like signed or independently as well, like just do their thing. Like I don't know, I try to just rid myself of like okay, I need to like only make songs with like this type of drums, this type of bass, this type of synth line, so that people sonically remember it.
Right.
And then yeah, like only wear my hair in pigtails so that people are like, oh, that's the girl with like the pigtails. I get it.
But it's almost like you're saying it, but you know that's effective.
Yes.
Like just being a girl with pigtails, just being the girl with a crown, just being the girl on skates, like something she has like, and it's also the silhouette, the look, and then they just see it and they immediately know who this is.
Yeah.
Like it's almost like we know that this is the, like subliminally and like from the business standpoint, that's the right way of doing it, creating the look, creating the business strategy and your brand image, your brand book, and they're just following it because that's how businesses succeed. But it's almost like as a human being, as an artist, as the person who doesn't like to conform and like continuously do the same thing, because that's something that businesses do. That's something that as a corporation will do. Like the corporation has to be memorable. Like Coca-Cola will never drop their bread, right? But as a person, like you almost require to succeed because you're fighting on a big market. So now you're on a market. You almost have to follow the guidelines of the brands and corporation and treat yourself as a brand. Yeah. And brands don't change that much. They don't rediscover themselves every, and it's almost like
every day.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. And I think you like that's compromise as well. Like there's, you don't want to compromise when it comes to the art, but it depends on like what you view, I guess, as the art. Like for me, like the real art is the music. My hair and my look, like there are artistic, there's art in that as well, like in your being. But like I think like if music is like your main form, then you can kind of like be okay with keeping some other things kind of consistent, or like those kind of grounded brand elements.
For sure, you can have your own guidelines of your brand, the elements, or how you sing, your specific voice, as you said.
Yeah,
it's quite often we know musicians by their voice, and it's very recognizable.
Yeah.
You would think you will hear Sting, and he does a lot of different stuff as well, and you will immediately recognize his voice and his style of delivery. For sure, the path that you're starting to rediscover yourself, for you it's much higher cost right now than for someone who's established to rediscover themselves.
Oh, totally.
For you, it's you literally burning bridges, and you starting building from scratch, which is very hard.
Yeah, it was very scary. Like it was kind of like, okay, why am I doing this? And I knew I made the right decision, and I like stand behind it. But yeah, it's like, even if like, it's just much easier having done one thing for any length of time than it is to start all over and like do something new. But I think that like I also learned a lot from the first time I did it. So it's not like you're starting from zero. Yeah, I already learned sort of a lot of the lessons that we spoke about, like in work relationships, in music partnerships, like all of that. Like, so I'm not starting from scratch in that sense, like in terms of like my toolkit of like emotional strength, work experience, performing experience, mixing, producing. So that's where like I think I'm like, I'm thankful for that. Yeah.
I think it's an opportunity in a way, because I almost think about it as something that I went through. 7-8 years ago, I moved to Canada. It's almost, a lot of people are saying, what are you doing? You have a career here. People know you here and there. No. And I thought about it in a moment. I'm like, yes, no one knows me there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. That's amazing in a way, because
Yeah,
I'm bringing
it is kind of
because I'm
exciting.
bringing all my experience that I had before,
Yeah.
my knowledge, but I'm not bringing none of the mistakes, because it's a brand new
Yeah.
thing. It's a clear slate,
Mm-hmm.
so I don't have to do the same mistakes, you know. So I feel it's in the same way, that when you're rediscovering yourself and you bringing your experiences and you have your, you know, toolkit, and you bring it to this brand new project, so you don't have to make the same mistakes, and you can make it, you know, you can build it cleaner. It's almost like, because in a way I feel like I almost think about that as a house, right? You need your foundation. And when you're just starting and you were young and you were just exploring, you know, music, and you're figuring out, your foundation can be built with you know, wood and like mud and stuff. And then you start building the castle on top of it. And suddenly the whole castle is like shambles, because you build it on top of
Sand,
dirt, you
yeah.
know? And so I think what you're doing is the right way of doing it, of like clearing your mind and be and like your thoughts, and like organizing it, and being, like you were mentioning, that you're a really organized person, and being meticulous about it, and building really solid foundation, so it can accommodate dimension. Because maybe you were starting on a lot that cannot accommodate the, you know, the ambitions that you had. You started on a lot that is like, there's no room to grow, because it start pushing in your personal life, like you mentioned, right? So now you're starting on a much bigger lot by picking, you know, the pseudonym, by picking, you know, your artist name. You're like laying the foundation of something bigger, something grander, that you can build, and like sprawling mansion with different, you know, rooms. And then you can compartmentalize. You can say, this is one wing of like you know, being mad. This is wing of being, you know, happy. This is wing of being sad. And this is different albums, different direction. But what's going to support it is that, you know, solid foundation of you picking, you know, the right name, of you, you know, getting the right socials and everything, creating your bio and everything, all of that. That's your foundational. So I think it's really beautiful that you that you're on this path, and we so just exciting. This early on this, and we were just like going through all the thoughts, and this is like, you don't know, guys, but this is completely, you know, unscripted. I have no prompts, I'm not reading anything. I wasn't. That's probably a negative, but I wasn't really preparing. But I really like to have those raw conversations with people, when it's like you discovering the topics while you talk. And I think that's the beauty of it. And I think it will be very interesting now, meet maybe like in a year, and like see how the project has grown, and how it's gonna change.
I know, it's so cool. This is like, it's like a time capsule.
Yeah, it's gonna be a time capsule. It's gonna be kind of amazing to see, because you in the ground zero. That's rarely we have the opportunity to, you know, sit on people when they starting on something, and then, you know, follow their, you know, career path and see the things that work. And maybe you will come and you'll be like, you know, waterfall strategy was amazing. Or maybe it will come and it's like you
it
know
was
what?
A mess.
Maybe...
there was water everywhere.
Yeah, maybe
nothing made sense.
But it's all of us. It's very exciting. Yeah, it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be very exciting for all of us to follow what's gonna be happening. And I will encourage all of you to follow, you know, MADLADY on all the social media. That's you got your handle.
Yeah, I got my handle. It's MADLADY Music everywhere.
It's MADLADY Music, so please follow, and you will be, you know, first adopters. You will be the people who were in the beginning and were supporting in the beginning, and you can then, you know, maybe claim your t-shirt in 10 years.
Yeah.
Or something. But thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
It was a real
such
pleasure. And yeah, thank you for watching, and tune in next time.
That was so good.